Hello and welcome to the Hugh Lane Gallery. My name is Renata Pękowska. This short recorded talk is part of the Culture Club series and it's dedicated to artist books. What is an artist book? To put it simply, it is an artwork in the form of a book. The definition is pretty straightforward and sounds really straightforward, but within it lies a vast array of different types of objects and different approaches. Some book artists manipulate, rewrite, deconstruct existing books. Some create books, and those books can be limited editions, they can be one-off objects, sculptural objects, made with many different materials, some of them still resembling books, some of them not so much anymore. Book arts are a fairly recent category within the visual arts discourse. But obviously for centuries visual artists were involved in the production of books. If you think, it's enough to think of the illuminated manuscripts, especially some spectacular examples like the Book of Kells. But only in the 20th century some artists started treating the form of the book as an art form, and William Blake, an English artist, is often quoted as one of the first artists who did that. William Blake was a poet and he was also a painter, and he created the books that he published. He created them, produced them himself, which is now the common practice among book artists, and he sort of designed them as whole objects. So the text of his poems were in those books, but the whole pages were designed with the poems, and they were hand-colored by himself and his wife. And so the cover and the whole pages, the whole book is just like one concept. This image shows an artwork by an Italian conceptual artist, Vincenzo NERC, called Libro dimenticato a memoria, which can be translated as a book forgotten by heart. It's quite a large volume. 528 of them were produced between the years of 1969 and 1970. 70 by 50 centimeters large, and quite a poetic object. As you can see, the whole area of the page, usually covered with text, is very carefully and precisely chiseled out, including the covers, leaving those two voids. Interestingly, the ribbon bookmark is left and marks the open page. Apparently this project was a visual manifestation of an opinion held by the artist that culture is the learning of forgetting. Another artist active in the same years of the 1960s and 1970s is Dieter Roth. Dieter Roth, Swiss-German artist who during his career produced many artist books. starting with small volumes made with found printed material, which he cut up into small squares, 2 by 2 centimeter squares, and then he would bind the squares into volumes, like 150 pages volumes, so they still look and they still were actual books. And at some point Dieter Roth started producing a particular type of an artist book. Apparently first of those books was created for one of his friends, and he was sent to one of his friends. So basically Dieter Roth took a whole book and cut it up, minced it, mixed it with some actual ingredients from a recipe for a sausage, and he stuffed a sausage casing with the whole lot, and he posted it to a friend. So later he started producing more of those, and he would include the title of the book on the casing. It would be there would be a sticker, and the sticker would tell you which book it was. There was inside the casing. He called them Literaturwurst, literature sausages, and this image here shows that he even created this whole multiple editions of multiple volumes of the book. So the form of the book, I guess, the material, everything is still there, but obviously the function is gone. The book is not recognizable as such until we sort of see and until we know what it was made with. The next artist book is a much more recent project from 2013 by two artists based in London, Adam Brumberg and Oliver Channerin, called Holy Bible. And it is another example of modifying an existing book. The intervention this time is more subtle, and it consists mostly of images looking like they were pasted into the Bible. They are superimposed and obscuring some of the text. They are images of some are images of certain objects, some are modern images of conflict, of violence, images of catastrophes. Some parts of the text are also underlined, so that overall the reading of the book is completely altered, and a new reading, a new interpretation is created. Ireland has a relatively vibrant scene when it comes to artist books. As a general rule, artist books are not exhibited that often, and if they are bought by private collectors or for public collections, they are generally not seen again by the general public. There are collections of Irish artist books, most notably the collection housed in the National Irish Visual Arts Library in Dublin. Artist books are also being collected by the Limerick School of Art and Design. Also in Dublin, there is a zine archive, presently housed in the A4 Sound Studios, just off Dorset Street. The books can be seen there by appointment. Zines themselves deserve a separate mention as very informal publications which can be qualified as artist books. They are normally designed, produced and distributed by their authors, and thanks to that they allow for a great deal of freedom when it comes to their contents, and are often, but not always, counterculture publications. There are zine fairs that happen regularly in different locations in Ireland, like Cork or Dublin. There is also a yearly event in Temple Bar Gallery and Studios called Dublin Art Book Fair, which happens in November of every year. Dublin Art Book Fair normally has an artist books section, and the books for the section are usually selected from an open call. So it's a great opportunity to see books that would be produced in Ireland that year, very recent productions, publications and projects. Artist books in Ireland are produced by individual artists or by small limited edition publishers and printing studios. One of those small publishers is Roth Press, which was set up on Achill Island by Francis Van Mele and is co-run by his partner and collaborator Frantic Ham, who is based between Achill Island and South Korea. Roth Press publish limited edition artist books, some of which are collaborative collections of prints. Some focus on themes such as collectible objects. Some are dedicated to particular locations in Ireland, or are about, say, fish and chips. Some Red Fox publications are assembly boxes, like this one, called Fluxus Island, which is a tribute to Fluxus movement artists. The box contains 20 silkscreen prints, event cards, an island survival kit, a rubber stamp, arty stamps, tickets, a painted postcard, and various other objects. Coracle Press is another example of a small independent publisher. They operate from rural Tipperary, and they produce books which are collaborations between poets and visual artists. Most of the books come in the traditional form, but some, like this one, use alternative forms and materials to formulate their ideas. Some poems are engraved or printed on everyday use objects like plates or drinking glasses. The one shown here is called Water of Recess and is a small cardboard box which contains a sealed bottle vial with river water inside. The bottle is engraved with the title, the location, and the date. There is also a small booklet with the map and text inside of the box. Sandy Sexton is a book artist based in Dublin, and she's an example of an artist whose main artistic activity is the production of artist books. She's also an example of a book artist who continuously adds to their skill set in order to incorporate those new skills or the knowledge of the new materials into her new projects. She designs and makes books that range from small folded booklets or very small scale three-dimensional objects to slightly larger books like these ones here called Four Seasons. And an interesting thing about this set of books is here the image shows the way they are stored and the way they are displayed in these handmade leather satchels made by the artist as well. The idea for the satchels came from the her learning of the early Irish monks who were traveling around with their books, and they would have these specially made handmade leather bags made especially for a particular book. The image here shows another book by Sandy Sexton, a larger object and about a meter tall. This is the way it was displayed in the Sculpture in Context exhibition in the Botanic Gardens in 2019, where it was displayed in one of the greenhouses. Andrew Fowlin is a visual artist who, during his long and successful career, made a great number of books. His books are based on particular concepts or observations, or particular type of imagery like typography. He often repeats the same image over hundreds of pages, sometimes only to reverse it halfway through the volume. The image used in this book, I personally thought it was showing magnified human skin. It is in fact an aerial view of the Phoenix Park. The way the image is repeated creates a sense of rhythm, not unlike certain sound compositions of minimalist composers, where a certain beat or a section is endlessly replayed. The image swaps sides in the middle of the volume. The whole surfaces of the pages are printed without any margins, which creates these wavy patterns on the sides. Andrew Fowlin often uses pyrography in his work, and this book, called The Book of Nerves, shows this particular technique. A red-hot iron rod is driven through the pages of an already assembled book, burning holes which get progressively smaller as the burning tool cools down. Putting together an idea of a book and a burning tool can have many connotations. Here it is a technique used to a great effect by an artist who is in full control of his process. The last artist whose work I am going to present is Siobhan Pearcy. Siobhan Pearcy, like Andrew Fowlin, is a print artist and a highly skilled maker with a vast knowledge of materials and techniques. Her books are exquisite objects, often elaborately folded and bound. She uses prints and patterns on both sides of particular types of paper, and these are revealed while opening the volumes. The titles of the books often refer to her own reflections on the perceived role of books as repositories of knowledge, or her views on making skills being disregarded nowadays in favor of the concept, and the notion that an artist who possesses the skill to make their own work somehow undermines their standing as a fine artist. Siobhan Pearcy creates books as individual single units or sets. Their forms and finishes are always very well thought out. Her work successfully combines passion, reflection, concept, and artistic skill. I hope that you found this short introduction to the world of artist books to be of interest. For more future talks in the Hugh Lane Gallery, please check the gallery's website's education section. Thank you for listening.